Welcome. Today we're going to talk about increasing productivity in your law firm. Give a warm welcome to all those who are here, and we pay our respects to the original custodians of our land, where we are and where our audience is as well. Thank you for joining us today. Got a few people here and there's a few more to come. Gemma is unable to be with us today, so Elizabeth has stepped in to give me a hand. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Okay, so today we're talking about how to increase productivity in your law firm. And can you see the screen happily? Screen share's all good? Lovely. Okay, so who am I? My name's Karen McDonald. Welcome. I've been in business for 30 years and I've started working with law firms way back when, and way before that. I'm the founder of Cascade Accounting and Tax. I'm also the founder of Wiseowl Legal Practice Management. I've been a consultant for decades, helping many business owners get past various bottlenecks. I'm a technologist and an accountant who loves to get stuff done. Going back a number of years, I was challenged by several lawyer clients to write a system for them to improve their world. And that was Wiseowl Legal, my baby. And yes, I love technology. One of my clients a few years back had a giggle and said, "It's tragic you know so much about computers that you've spent so much time in front of them learning all this stuff." My technology bent started pretty much the day I left school. Back then, there was no computers anywhere near school. When I first went into the workplace, any accounting machines, any devices that automated processes really caught my attention. So much so that I rearranged my university subjects. And in my second semester out of school, the ripe old age of 18, I was programming on punch cards in COBOL. That computer then was as big as a room. Later, I worked for a company that went on to be Goodman Fielder Watty. My aptitude towards computers stood out so much that I became troubleshooting queen on the conversion to a new mainframe. I was flown backwards and forwards from Brisbane to Sydney many times to troubleshoot what was going on with their moving of manual data onto a computer system. I've also been complimented many times over the years about how well organised I am. And that is just part of who I am. So my conclusion has been that being organised, having the right mindset, harnessing the power of computers equals fast-tracking productivity. There's always a good way forward. Wiseowl Legal was born firsthand from seeing how lawyers suffered misfitting systems. It was one of the first truly cloud-based practice management systems that was released in Australia. When Wiseowl was first released, people were so terrified of the cloud environment that they wanted it all installed in-house because they were so scared of the cloud. Wiseowl was born in the days when many practice management systems crashed servers regularly, and it was a common complaint, the amount of time people lost in law firms because the server crashed from the practice management software. Wiseowl is proud to be in the position to be working towards a new environment, a multi-tenanted API-first architecture, and the first release of that was August 24. And over the next 2 years, we're moving our entire system to this environment, and that's really exciting for us because it takes us into a whole new world. So today, I'm going to cover all things productivity. We're going to talk about what is productivity, how to determine your deepest goals, what does productivity have to do with your goals, what does the road to higher productivity look like, what part does automation and technology play in increasing productivity, what part does AI play in increasing productivity, and the results of improved productivity. So let's move into it. What is productivity? What does productivity mean for you? Take a moment to think about it. For many people, it means different things. The definition in its simplest form is a measure of how much output is achieved with a given amount of input like labor, capital, or resources over a specific period. Productivity is the rate at which a person or company does useful work. What does productivity mean to you? Let's look at you. Look around you and your goals around both productivity and automation. I'm keen for you to think about these questions. Why did you start your law firm? What are your goals? Where do you want to be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time? What is holding you back? How are you going to get there? Do you have a growth plan? Oh, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. We all know the song. I really encourage you to think about what you really want and write it down, because taking a moment to think about what you really, really want is the first step towards improving productivity and achieving some of your big goals. So we've got lots of questions here today, because what we're trying to do is to help you think about how to become more productive. And there's no one size fits all. So by asking you lots of questions, hopefully we're helping you think about lots of things and move forward with them. So what is my ideal role? Where do I see myself in 12 months' time, in 5 years' time? What don't I want to be doing? We've all got things we really don't want to do. And in the business world, there's always a few things that we don't want to do that we end up doing, but we don't want that to be the majority of our day. I recommend crystal ball gazing. It's a really good thing to do. We should all do it regularly. Crystal ball gazing is the start of how we find out who we are and what we really want. Until we really do some serious crystal ball gazing, we can set many goals that go nowhere. We need to really get in touch with where we really want to be so that we can own our goals. Let's talk about you some more. We can talk about lots of opportunities for success, but they're only as good as the opportunities that you own. Your goals need to be yours. They can't be just something you pulled out of a book or something a consultant told you to own. Interestingly, in the mid-90s, in January, and it happened a few Januaries, I found myself sitting on my bed Sunday morning, second or third Sunday in January, just journaling, writing down. And in the 90s, I journaled a lot. It was a really good way to get through a messy divorce. Anyway, a couple of times I found myself just one Sunday, early January, writing and writing and writing. And I got to the end, and this was where I wanted to be for the year. And then that happened consecutively for 3 or 4 years. I had a bit of a chuckle after I realized it had become a pattern and decided it was a pattern I really liked. It was a good thing. Now my goal setting happens a bit more often, not just an annual thing, but I certainly do take the time at the beginning of each new year to think about, where am I? Where do I want to be? And the morale from our crystal ball gazing is, I'm in the driver's seat. It's up to me if I want to stay in charge. I certainly want to stay in charge. Do you? Do you have a growth plan? So why did you become a lawyer? What does success look like to you? What do you love doing? What are you good at? Where do you want to be in 2 years, 5 years? Again, that's what do you hate doing? Oops. You need to plan to get ahead. And that's something I do for lots of businesses. So one of the first steps in planning and improving productivity is to have a really good look at our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The good old SWOT analysis. Yes, it's been around for a very long time, but it's a very, very good technique. The first part is identifying your superpower. Do you know what your superpower is? When someone compliments you for doing something really well, stop and savor that moment. Keep some tabs on those special times. If you haven't already identified your highest superpower, keeping tabs on those times where people go, that's been amazing. That's really helped us. It really does help. Even this week, I had a lawyer compliment me and say, you guys are wonderful, because we simplify things. We take the complex and dumb it down, and they were really grateful for that. And that's one of my superpowers. So we need to look at our strengths, look at what we're best at, what we love doing, the things that others find hard and we find easy, and how we want to maximize our input to our business. A long time ago, I realized that a lot of what I do in a day as an easy day, many people will consider a crazy day. And some of my crazy days, most people can't keep up with me. And acknowledging that was part of acknowledging one of my superpowers, which I think I mentioned before, of being highly organized. So what saps your time? Being honest with yourself about around these weaknesses and what takes your time, and choose into a lot of your opportunities. We've all got the same amount of minutes and seconds in the day. It's how we choose to use them that makes us more or less productive and also affects whether or not we achieve our goals. How long since you really thought about what saps your time? Have you considered analysing where your time goes? I remember going back to university part-time with 2 little kids. And before I went back, I actually sat down and did an audit of what I do in a week. And in that audit, I found I spent an awful lot of time in the kitchen. I was cooking for husband, ex-husband, and 2 children, and I like to cook. But when I sat down and added it up, I was spending sometimes 4 and 5 hours a day in the kitchen. And I then went, okay, there's something I can trim. My ex-husband wasn't very happy about it, but what that did for me is it showed me that I could get an extra 3 hours a day and use that to study. And we still ate well. We still had good food. But I was just a lot more conscious of how much time I was investing in each meal I put on the table. Have you considered the time it takes managing difficult clients? Who is our ideal client? When do we let our D-grade clients go? We had one client who once wanted premium services, super cheap price, lots of complaints, lots of moaning. We kept her for a while simply because of her mother. Her mother was a wonderful A-grade client, a wonderful person. And we took responsibility to put fences around the problem client so that she didn't sap too much of our time, particularly when there was limits in what she was willing to pay for. So we put boundaries around our service offerings and helped us to be more productive and to give better service to those who wanted more from us and were willing to pay for that extra service. Opportunities. One of the biggest opportunities we have in business is to effectively use our staff. I have a mantra of working to people's strengths, identifying what our staff members are good at and focusing on that. So by finding each person's sweet spot and what they like to do best, that improves their productivity. It also increases their motivation to work independently. Empowering is so much more powerful than micromanaging. Working to people's strengths stops us putting a square peg in a round hole. If we do try and put people into a role that's not suitable for them, they're going to leave. So working to people's strengths makes so much sense as it can cut down your turnover. Yes, there's a component of everyone's job they don't like, but if they're loving most of it, then they'll stay. Another opportunity is to offer promotion, but not too quickly. One of the things one of my team members was looking for was promotion, and they were keen to be promoted, but we promoted them too quickly and we had to rein things in and slow it down so that person was promoted at the rate they could cope with. Another thing of team strengths is the way we communicate within our team. I am often told by one of my colleagues that I talk in fables rather than stories, which I find a bit entertaining. One of my favourite fables is the tortoise and the hare. Be the tortoise and get to the end successfully rather than being the hare that gets distracted all the way around. So what threatens your success? We're just looking at the components of a SWOT analysis. This replay will be available not next week, but Monday or Tuesday of the week after Anzac Day. What threatens our success? Mistakes, turnovers, missed opportunities, delays, missed deadlines, conflict in the office, external pressures. There's lots of things that can threaten our success. We need to keep an eye on the threat part of our SWOT analysis as an ongoing thing, because if we let the things that are going to threaten our success become too prevalent, then they do cause us conflict and hold back our productivity and hold back our success. We need to keep focused on the end game, and doing a SWOT analysis, even quarterly, is really very helpful for us to keep track on what we want to do. Another key element of staying productive is staying active and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. If we don't look after this temple of number one ourselves, then it's going to slow us down. So we can't put fitness and a healthy lifestyle on the shelf. We need to live it. We need to keep doing it. So putting all the components together of productivity, what does it look like and how do we stay in charge? The first thing we need to do is to start measuring. You can't manage what you don't measure. What are you measuring? Do you know your numbers? I had a client, she's a lady lawyer. She was working very, very hard. And I used to go and do a half-yearly review of her numbers. And this particular month, the particular time, I went out to see her and her numbers were way down. I was waiting for her to finish with a client so we could have the meeting that we were going to have once I'd finished doing some work on her financials. And I had a bit of time on my hands waiting for her. So rather than going for a walk around the block, which I probably should have done, I started digging in her system. And what we found that the previous 3 months, her billings were way down. And I then ran some productivity reports on her practice management system and was able to identify that even though she was time costing, she wasn't meeting target any day. So I showed her a couple of tools that were within her system. And when I showed her the reports that proved that she wasn't billing enough, she was over the moon. And the way I introduced the topic was, I'm looking at your figures here, and I know that you're here 10 hours most days. And I can see some weeks you've billed 15 hours and 20 hours. I'm sure you're not here baking cakes. So what are you doing with your time? So once I brought her to notice this problem, she just about burst into tears because she knew her bank account was down. But because she was so stuck in the trenches, she hadn't stopped to realize what was going on. And that's where we come in. If you use WiseOwl, we can measure everything for you. Another place where a client wasn't measuring, we had a client that had done very well one year and they had no money in the bank. And we could see that there was good profit, there was a big tax bill, and there wasn't the money to fund it. So we went digging before they came in for their meeting. And what we found was there was a very hungry credit card. And we actually made a point of doing a bit of an analysis on all the work, all the money that the owners had taken out of the business, and split it up so they could see specifically where it had gone. And this very hungry credit card, it had eaten $100,000. And we sat down and we met with them and they went, we've got a tax bill. Where is it? And we were ready and we said, well, I think we know what the problem is. It's this very hungry credit card. And these people had been doing well and they were churchgoers and they'd been giving away lots of money. And they'd given away too much because then they didn't have the money to pay their tax bill. So that very hungry credit card got cut up and it went off to credit card heaven, never to be seen again. And that was because we sat down and we went through the numbers and measured it with them. So that's oversimplifying what we're saying, but the bottom line is you need to measure and you need to know your numbers. Planning. Why should I plan? Planning is a bit like a roadmap. Personally, when we go caravanning, if I sit down the night before with my computer and my roadmap and map out all the waterfalls I want to see next day and then set them into the GPS in the car, I get to see about twice as many waterfalls as I would if we just go out and wing it. Because husband gets frustrated because we're sort of going down a road hoping to find something. So it's important to me when I'm on holidays to see as many waterfalls as I can. So when I plan it, I see twice as many at least, if not more. In business, should we just see how things pan out, or should we know how we're going to get there? Yes, small business is known for being able to turn on a dime. However, if we keep changing directions willy-nilly, where is that going to take you? Have a plan. It's a security blanket. Then if you have the opportunity to deviate from your plan becomes your measuring stick. So if a great opportunity comes, you actually can look at your plan and consider if that really is part of your plan or whether it is a worthwhile deviation before you just aimlessly wander into a new adventure that's really not going to serve you. Benjamin Franklin said it all those years ago. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So often when I'm talking to law firms, I see the symptoms of this cartoon. And yes, if you follow me on the socials, you'll see this frequently. It has been one of my favorite pictures for about 8 years. So many law firms are too busy to automate. I had one gentleman who had been working for himself for about 3 years as a lawyer, and he got me to come and install PC Law back in the early 2000s. And he said, "Oh, I really feel I'm too small to be doing this," because he was doing everything manually. However, he was spending hours and hours every month trying to reconcile his trust account manually. It was really quite tragic. And then we came out to convert him onto a computer system. And then he said, before we start, I have a problem. I haven't reconciled my trust for the last 3 months. Do you think you can do it? I said, yeah, sure. And I think he wanted to throw his stapler at me because I fixed it in about 45 minutes. And he'd had many nights up till 3 a.m. trying to find these problems. There was such a much better use of his time in doing his legal work than to spend hours and hours trying to fix a trust account that should have been automated. I have another client who was productive from day one because she automated her tasks from the start. She used WiseR from the beginning of her firm and is highly productive and quite conscious of the fact that she wants to be highly productive. So where do I start? Where do I start on the road to productivity? It's an age-old challenge. Regularly reviewing your productivity is really, really useful. It helps you to see the gaps and weaknesses, the blind spots, the bleeding obvious. It gives you the choice if you're going to have more free time or more time to work. Both are good. Automation can save staff costs, and automating and becoming more productive, both of them can create accountability to yourself as the business owner. We all know all the theories in books. There's lots and lots of them. Why are there so many? Because so many people have tried to get to unlock the secrets of productivity. There are so many concepts, and we can look at lots of them and find out what's best for us. You can read many resources. You don't have to become the great evangelist of each different productivity book. But my theory when I'm reading a book is if I get one good idea from a business book, then I'm ahead. I've gained. In the 1990s, I read every self-help book and every productivity book I could get my hands on. At that point, I decided that if I read a book, if I got one good idea from it, one new idea that was good, I was ahead. I'd gained something. Nowadays, life seems to be a lot busier, and I often listen and read summary books or listen to audio summary books. I've discovered I can listen to a summary book and walk my four-legged friend around the park at the same time. And by the time I get to the park and back, I can have listened to another book summary, which helps me stay focused on where I want to go and not just be focused on the humdrum of today. Here are 10 tips to increase your productivity. Prioritize, measure, exercise, be positive, take breaks, set deadlines, stop multitasking, do some collaborative work, schedule things and measure things. Each of those, most of those we've talked about already today, and each of those will contribute to us becoming more productive. Automation can certainly add to your business and your profit and your free time. There are many things that we've covered. I've got a checklist that I'll be giving away at the end of this, and also these slides will be available as part of the recording. But yeah, don't get caught up in the humdrum. Let that go, and that helps you to grow and prosper and improve. So what if I stumble? This image here is on a piece that I wrote last year about the power of two. I was stuck in the doldrums of being somewhat overwhelmed, and the way I dug myself out of it and got back to my normal productive self was the power of two. That all sounds a bit strange. 2 bills, 2 reviews, 2 walks in a day, only 2 wines. I found that by working with twos, that I really took myself out of a slump and got myself back on track. The path of it's there. It's on my, it's on the YSL website. Otherwise, reach out and I can send you the link to it. Yeah, the power of two really pulled me out of a nasty slump, and it's a really good way to playfully embrace life and get more things done. Should we hire a consultant to help us become more productive? In many situations, many of us have done so much learning that we're able to do a bit of a SWOT analysis on ourselves and work out where our points our trouble points are and what's holding us back. But sometimes if we feel stuck, then a consultant can help us accelerate faster. So a consultant can help you see the gaps and weaknesses that you can't see. They can help you see the blind spots and the bleeding obvious. If you work with them for a time, you can find that they can identify some of the things that are holding you back, and they can help you sometimes automate some of the things you're struggling with. And one of the things a consultant definitely will do is create accountability, because you meet with them 1 week and then 2 weeks later you have another meeting and you've got accountability. But that doesn't mean the consultant is the only way to become more productive. But it's just worth having a look at where we're at, where we want to go, and whether or not we can see our way forward ourselves. You know, you might even say, look, I've got some really good ideas here. Let's give ourselves 3 to 6 months to see if we can implement them. And if we haven't, then maybe it is time to hire a consultant. So what about AI? How are we using that? Are we scared of it? AI is a bit like seeing again when the internet first started. And instead of looking up volumes and encyclopedias, we could just talk to Google. I remember back in the early 2000s when a friend of mine would come over and he'd say, Google knows all. And I, as much as I loved automating things, I really hated this Google knows all. Since then, it has become a bit of a joke, and we all know that we can Google most things we want to know. AI is the next iteration where AI goes and searches the internet and searches much more quality, much more deeper than what Google does. It's changing our world. It's changing the world of legal research, particularly. But the biggest thing we need to be aware with AI is it's only as good as the questions we ask. If we're getting ready for a court case and we focus on one set of research, be it the old way or be it with AI, and we overlook an aspect in the facts that we've got that we're going to court with, we could actually get into court and the other side bring up a totally new slant on what we're looking at. And we're still not in the driver's seat because we haven't used our human intelligence to work out all the aspects that we need to cater for. So AI is going to make our work life a lot more interesting because there is a whole bunch of humdrum that it can relieve us of. I've laughed at myself a few times recently where there's been a document that I wanted to produce that was, I didn't know where to start. I had in my brain what I wanted to get out of it, but where to start was causing me grief. And there's been a few times recently I've just gone and talked to Ace, which is what I call my chat GPT. Hi, Ace. What do you think of this? And I put my problem in there and go, oh my God, when I see the results. So getting from A to Z can be a lot faster. Another interesting way to use ChatGPT is to give it a topic and then tell ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using to ask you questions and then formulate an answer. So you can actually go, ChatGPT, I want a checklist on how to do blah. Ask me the questions that you need to know so that you can make the best checklist possible. And you'd be surprised what it comes up with. Interestingly, this particular image we're looking at, I asked my ChatGPT to give me an image for What About AI? And it gave me some really boring black and white ones. And I haven't trained my ChatGPT to do much around images. I haven't put the time in. And I looked at them and went, no. So I have a marketing colleague who's been producing some amazing pictures for me and amazing pictures for her other colleagues, other clients. And so I asked her to give me an image that for What About AI? And this is what her ChatGPT did for me. And just because I'm a bit of a brat, I went back to Ace, my ChatGPT, and I said, and I talked to Ace like a human. I said, sorry, Ace, but this is the image we went with. And Ace come back and said, don't be sorry, that image is brilliant. I also had one of my other team produce some images for me last week, and she was just being a bit mischievous, and she's produced some images with Wise Owl and me and the Superwoman cape on. And of course, my puppy's beside me. They'll be up on social media soon, but ChatGPT's given me even more kilos than I'm carrying. So when she's back from her Easter holiday, ChatGPT can thin me down a bit and then we'll use them. So the power of AI is amazing. Dip your toe in. It's not something you're going to become really good at using in day one. I hate AI when it comes to recruitment. It's driving me mad because prospective staff members will put the job application into ChatGPT and come up with what looks like the perfect application. And unfortunately, a lot of the times they don't know what they're doing. I have been particularly frustrated when I see insert example here, but at least I've caught them out then. So ChatGPT and many of the other AI bots, make them your friend, get to know them, get to know how they can help you, and they certainly can help you become more productive as well. So yes, it is all about you, and apologies, but not sorry for focusing on you in this talk today, because that's where I think we really do need to be focusing on you. I will be giving out a checklist and growth plan template by email after this. So enjoy that. Improving productivity. It's all about finding steps to go towards your goals and accelerate your movement towards your goals and getting to where you want to be and achieving what you want to achieve. Most important thing is to know where you want to be. And this is some of where my checklist can help. So thank you. And I'm happy for you to come off mute and ask any questions. If you want to meet with me, that QR code will give you a meeting link. So thank you. And our next learning table will be the fourth Thursday of May, the 23rd of May, and we're going to talk about end of year tax planning. Thank you.